You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level. Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. You are watching fashion, fitness, travel, and leisure. And boy, am I excited for this show today. We have such an amazing guest. I am your host, executive producer, director, and broadcast engineer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. But the star of our show is Diann Floyd Boehm, and she has just moved into her new studio there. Woo! It's looking fabulous.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
You have been juggling all kinds of balls, making everything happen, and week after week you show up. So thank you, Diann.
It's always a pleasure to be with you. It's such an honor. But it's exciting to be here. I'm on the second floor of our new home, and it's like being in a tree house. So
looks absolutely gorgeous, and I see you've got your books there behind you.
Yes.
Rise is right there. Yes.
I'm still unpacking books, but yours will be up there soon.
Well, thank you. You absolutely look radiant today, so I think the move has definitely agreed with you.
Thank you. It feels good to be back in our family home after 15 years. So.
And you're still in the great state of Texas, right?
That's right. Matter of fact, I made this.
Oh, it's beautiful. You're such a creative, Diann.
Oh, thanks. I had to have a little bit of Texas when I was in the Middle East, so.
So you are an award-winning international children's book author, but you have so many other talents. You've lived all over the world. You've been in pageants and in performances. I'm just going to spotlight. Do share a little bit about who you are and the value you bring to this world.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Yes, I'm old enough to have a lot of chapters in life, and I feel so blessed to be able to say I've had so many chapters in life. I started off as an educator, and of course you mentioned some things that helped me even go to college, which was pageants. A lot of people look down on them, but not me, because they teach you so many things, how to be graceful, how to do interviews, etc. But now I'm in my new story garden, where I'll be running and interviewing authors as well, and being able to be with you, which is the most exciting part of my life right now, is to be on your show. It's such an honor. I like to think what I bring to the world is to make children love themselves, believe in themselves, parents enjoying reading the stories and inspiring their kids, because they are a blessing on the earth. And I want them to discover all the beautiful talents they'll be bringing and sharing with us. So that's what I hope everyone gets out of my stories, and I hope it makes people smile.
Yes, Diann, you're always making people smile. You're so generous. And I share this every week. You just go out of your way to help people, and you're always a yes person, regardless of what's going on in your life. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So let's talk about our amazing guest today, Sandy Adams. We've had Sandy on the show before, and she just has so much great information about travel. Her company is Cruise Planners, but she does so much more than cruises. She's full service, and she went on a cruise, and she was posting on Facebook Live. I loved it. So what do you say we bring her out?
I can't wait to hear all about it.
Come on out, Sandy Adams. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be on with you guys today and talk about all kinds of fun things. And I love your new home, Diann.
Thanks. And I'm so excited to have you as well. As Dr. Jacalyn said, oh.
It sounds like you guys might want to travel.
Yeah. So Sandy, when you were here before, you gave us so much great information. We had a lot of engagement from the audience. I'm going to ask people again, if you are watching live, we'd love to hear from you, and Sandy will answer any questions that she can that you provide. So you went on a cruise. How was it?
The cruise was amazing. So we were on the second sailing of the Celebrity Millennium, and it cruised out of St. Martin. The cruise had 497 people on it, but I'll get back to that in a minute. They did a really great job of prepping us before we went. We did have to get COVID tested before we went to St. Martin. And we had a process through St. Martin, and then we had a process to get on the ship. Everyone was required to be vaccinated on this cruise unless they were 16 and under. And there were a few children that were on the cruise with us. Once we got on board the ship, we were able to take our masks off. As I mentioned, we had 497 people on there, and as soon as we got on board the ship, the Celebrity Millennium typically holds over 2,100 people. So we knew that this was going to be the cruise of a lifetime and that we needed to really take advantage of everything. So we never had to wait in line. I would joke the 3 or 4 times that we got into the elevator with other people that I didn't know which I was more excited about, being on a cruise or being in an elevator and not worrying about it with other people. And
That's so true.
Yeah, exactly. It was amazing. The buffet was open. However, they served us, so we weren't allowed to handle the utensils. They served us. The food was amazing. Celebrity had everything open on the ship. So there was 800 crew members, a full complement of their crew, and everything was available to us. We made 3 stops on our cruise. So we had 3 days at sea and 3 stops. We went to Barbados, Curacao, and Aruba. In Barbados, we were required to only take excursions that were put on by the cruise line. Barbados at that time, and I believe still today, they're very strict about COVID protocols. In Aruba and in Curacao, we were able to go out on our own if we chose. In Curacao, we did a tour and then we wandered around downtown because my sister and I had visited there previously. And then in Aruba, we met up with a gentleman that we had met on our previous cruise, and he gave the 3 of us a tour around the island. So it was really a lot of fun. We didn't wear masks when we were on the ship. When we did go into these ports, we followed whatever their rules were, and wore our masks and things like that.
So it sounds like the cruise ship was not at a quarter capacity, but it was much less than full capacity.
Correct. The cruise that went out the previous week had 670 people on it. Ours had 497. And I think the one the following week was going to have 525. They did test us because there is a requirement if you are traveling back into the United States, whether you are a citizen or an international visitor, a COVID test is required to get back in the States. So they did test us on board the ship, and everybody was negative. So that worked out really well. And you could hear the cheers when the captain announced it on the ship. You could hear the cheers. Everybody was very excited about that. The previous week, there were 2 people that had tested positive. And in our conversations with crew members, they basically determined they did contact tracing and they retested a bunch of people. These were 2 people in the same cabin, and they believe that they must have picked it up sometime between when they got their COVID test before they went to St. Martin and boarding the ship. And, that 4 to 7 days time period, and then they tested positive on the ship. They had little to no symptoms, and nobody else got it. So that just shows that the protocols, and that's why I bring this up, that just shows that the protocols that the ship put in place worked, and nobody else was exposed to it.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing all that really important information. I'm wondering, what was the morale like among the crew members? Were they just ecstatic to have people coming back on board?
They were so excited. Many of them had basically been at home, for the last year and a half. A couple of the crew members that we talked to started different businesses or went to work for other people. There were some crew members that had spent time on the ship kind of at the beginning of COVID until they were able to get everybody home. And they did keep a crew of, I think, 30 to 60 people were on the ships at any given time because they had to keep them up, and running. And then they still needed people to cook for those people that were working on the ship. An interesting note is that when we visited the different ports, we saw many cruise ships that were moored in port at those islands. And when we talked to our friend in Aruba, what he told us was that every couple of days, the ships would take off and basically go around the island, spend some time at sea, and then come back in. And that was kind of the pattern of, helping to keep the ships up. We saw a lot of painting being done and work being done on the ships, getting all the ships ready to start sailing again.
So exciting, Diann. I mean, Diann, you've been traveling here and there, but to think that you can actually get out of the country, go somewhere, and it's really exciting, isn't it?
It's so exciting. So I would think, Sandy, that this is a really great time for our listeners to go on a cruise, because I've been on a cruise where it's been thousands of people. And so what you're saying right now is people are being very cautious. And so the numbers are still low, but you're having an exciting time and everything is just perfect for your health. So if you're going to go on a cruise, take advantage of being on a small one, would you say?
So I would say absolutely. Now is a great time. So they have started cruising out of Florida. And there are very specific protocols down there. The governor made the decision that businesses cannot ask people their COVID status. So the ships that are sailing out of there have put some different protocols in place. If you do not volunteer the information and have your card showing that you've been vaccinated, you're required to get a COVID test at the port. And there are different protocols on the ships. You're required to wear a mask at all times when you are indoors. And there's the potential that you would not be able to leave the ship depending on the protocols at the different stops that they make. And they'll have in the main dining room, as well as at the shows, separate areas for people who are vaccinated versus people who either are not or chose not to identify themselves as vaccinated, because they want to keep people safe.
Yeah, that's great. Absolutely. I know, Dr. Jacalyn, did you do this? I have my COVID card laminated so that it stays in good shape. So if people did ask me, which I have no problem for any company or anyone asking me if I had my shots, and I can just pull it out, and since it's laminated, it will stay in shape. But I also made Xerox copies, so I'm trying to do it. And so when you go, now back to you, of course, when you go out on one of your excursions during the day, do you have to get a new swab each time you go in and out of port?
Each country did their own things. So when we went to Barbados, as I said, they've been very stringent. So we had to wash our hands with hand sanitizer every time we got on the bus. And they also took our temperature every time. And we were on and off that bus about 5 or 6 times because we made different stops on our tour. And when we were on the bus, we had to keep our masks on. And if we were inside, when we made different stops, if we were indoors, we were expected to have our masks on. When we were in Aruba and Curacao, our tour that we did in Curacao, we did have to initially sanitize our hands, but they weren't quite as stringent about it each time. But we're used to having to put a mask on. So we pretty much, when we went inside an establishment, we would put our mask on.
I think
it's so good.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it's wonderful that they're being so cautious, and I'm such a believer that it's not about you, it's about the people around you. And you never know when a sneeze is going to come up, because I could walk by someone and their perfume is so strong, and I know I'm terrible about putting too much perfume on, but someone's perfume, and it could just go the wrong way, and I'm going to need to sneeze, right? And that scare the devil out of somebody.
Exactly.
My mother told me to cover my mouth, but in some places people don't have that. They haven't been taught to do that, because cultures are all different. So it's very good, that the protocol they're putting in to make sure you wear your masks. I think that's wonderful. So for you have new exciting cruises coming up. What can you tell everybody?
So,
by the way, we need to take a break. Sorry. We need to take a break.
I forgot. We need to do that, don't we?
So our audience will have to stay on the edge of their chairs to hear about new cruises. But we're going to watch a clip. I love this one. This is Celebrate Great Britain Royal Horses enjoying their summer holidays on the Sandy award-winning Holcombe Beach in Norfolk. Let's take a look at this, and then we'll be right back with Diann, Floyd, Boehm, and Sandy Adams, Travel Advisors.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. The most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hello and welcome back to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. You are watching Fashion, Fitness, Travel, and Leisure with the star of our show, Diann Floyd Boehm, and our guest, Sandy Adams of Travel Advisor Cruise Planners. And in our first segment, Sandy gave us an overview of the cruise that she took on, Celebrity Cruise, and the fact that the number of people occupying the ship was far low maximum capacity. There was a sense of safety with the protocols that have been put in place. She had a wonderful time. And then she also shared about any cruise ships that are leaving out of Florida, for example, have different protocols than other places in the country. Now, this segment, Sandy's going to tell us about up and coming exciting cruises. We can't wait to hear it.
So, Alaska, if you have not been to Alaska, now is also a great time to go there because they have started cruising out of Seattle round trip. Several of the cruise lines are cruising. Celebrity, Royal Caribbean, NCL, Princess, Holland America are all providing cruises round trip out of Seattle, 7 days. Great opportunity to visit Alaska if you have not been. Other places that you can cruise to, if you haven't been to Greece, there are cruises out of Greece. There are some cruises in the Med. And as we move into the fall, we'll start seeing some more of those. On the river cruising front, Viking has been doing cruises of Bermuda. They've done some cruises around the UK, and they started this month their river cruising on the Rhine and the Danube and the Douro. AMA Waterways the same way, and as time moves on through the summer, we'll start seeing more river cruise ships out as well. So each of the cruise lines has a plan that they are implementing. Carnival has several ships that will start sailing between now and the end of September. The same thing with Royal Caribbean. The same thing with Celebrity. So the best place to find that information is to reach out to me, and I'm happy to share information with you anytime. If you sign up for our travel deals, which you can do through my website, I can also provide that information to you as well. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Sandy, you do so much more than planning cruises, and I want our audience to remember that. So can you just talk about the depth and breadth of the services that you provide?
Absolutely. I was just going to mention that. The Caribbean and Mexico are hopping right now. I've had clients that just returned from the Bahamas, and they had an amazing time. All-inclusives are filling up quickly because people just want to get out and travel. I was looking at Sandals and Beaches, and most of their resorts are filled. So there are lots of other opportunities. I also recently had a client return from Iceland. She did a cruise with Insight Vacation. She did a tour with Insight Vacations. It was an escorted tour around Iceland. They followed the Icelandic protocols in terms of COVID. They were required to wear their masks when they were on the motor coach, but when they were out and about, they were able to take their masks off. So slowly but surely, we're getting back to being able to visit around the world. There is exciting news this week, in case you haven't heard, but the UK is opening to US visitors, and they will you'll not have to quarantine when you go over. So I am very excited about that.
I am too. We have a lot of friends from the UK who are on this show on a regular basis, co-hosts, and we are thrilled for that information.
Yes,
absolutely.
And we're excited about being able to go, right, Dr. Jacalyn?
Absolutely, yes. And hopefully by next year, it'll be a completely different story.
Absolutely. Everything will be open again. I wanted to also mention Greece and Spain and Turkey are also in Europe. are open to Americans in addition to Iceland and Croatia and Montenegro. So there are several countries that are open. There are several that are scheduled to open within the coming weeks as well. Many places in Africa are open, as well as in South America.
This is such exciting news. I mean, you've named some fabulous countries. Croatia and Spain I've been to. Turkey, I couldn't get enough of it, so I've been there 3 times. And
Wow.
because Turkey's so huge and the history's so phenomenal that you cannot see it all in one time, unless
Absolutely.
you spend a year there, right? So it's pretty cool. That's so neat.
I've taken an Alaskan cruise with my mom. That was a lot of fun. But I was always interested in Iceland. What is that like, and what can one do there, Sandy?
There are so many interesting things there. You have the glaciers, and you spend a lot of time when you're there visiting different glacier areas. The waterfalls there are amazing. They have there's always the opportunity, and I say that because you can never predict when the Northern Lights will be happening, but there's always that opportunity to visit, to see the Northern Lights. There's several historical places in and around Reykjavik to visit, and so you can very easily fill in a 5 to 7 day trip there in Iceland.
That is a country I really want to go to. I've seen so many beautiful pictures there, and to see the Northern Lights is just phenomenal. But I've only seen them, in pictures, but to be able to see it in person must be incredible.
I can't wait till I have that opportunity.
Is that on your list?
That is definitely on my list.
Sandy, when you look at where...
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
When you look at where you're planning on going over, let's say, the next 24 months, I know that's a long time. What places are you excited about?
Well, I'm very excited about a train trip that I'm going to be taking at the end of August. I'm going to be going on the Rocky Mountaineer, which is a luxury rail journey that up until now has done Canada, the Canadian Rockies, and that area. This year is their inaugural trip. Inaugural season of doing what they're calling Rockies to the Red Rocks. It will start in Denver and it will end in Moab. And then you have the opportunity to take a motor coach continuation tour either to Utah or to Las Vegas. We've chosen to Las Vegas, and just some of the parks that we will be going through. So we start in Denver. You're on the train only during the day, and it goes really slowly or stops in certain places. Then you spend the night in Glenwood Springs, and then the next morning you get back up, get on the train, and it takes you to Moab. We'll spend a couple of days in Moab, and we'll visit Canyonland National Park, Arches National Park. Then we'll after 2 days, head towards Bryce Canyon, and we'll stop at Capitol Reef National Park. We'll go to Bryce Canyon National Park. We'll spend a day there. Then on our way to Las Vegas, we stop at Zion National Park. So it'll be a great opportunity to see so many of the national parks in that region. So I'm very excited about that. And I'll be doing some Facebook Lives along the way so that I can share it with people who are interested in the national parks.
I do love those Facebook Lives, Sandy. Keep them up.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds like a great trip.
Yeah, it does sound like a fabulous trip. When do you go again?
So we leave on the 27th of August, and we're gonna, the tour actually ends on the 2nd of September, and then we'll spend a couple of days in Las Vegas before we come home.
I really like traveling by train. I just enjoy that method.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
It's amazing to do
I'm
that.
so glad you shared this with us because my husband and I, we love national parks. And originally our plan was, before we had the big winter storm here, at least it's a huge storm for us. I know for you people way up north, y'all are probably laughing because our storms, we freak out and the storms are much worse. So, but anyway. It did cause havoc. And so we had to redo our plans. But originally what we were going to do is I bought this great thing from National Geographic that has all the real nice laminated map, the national parks and everything you could do. And then we were going to road trip it. But now I'm thinking, oh, no, we need to do this train trip. This is just exciting. So I'm sure the listeners out there who are like us, who like parks, are really excited for you to share this with them. So make sure they contact you, Sandy.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And what's neat about the train is that you go places that you wouldn't be able to get to in a car.
Oh, thanks for saying that. Yeah.
Because if you look at where rail goes, a lot of times they go along rivers and things like that, and there's no access to those areas. So we'll have an opportunity to see some really neat things between Denver and Moab that wouldn't normally be accessible via car or other methods. So I'm really excited to share all of that.
Sandy, that sounds like a great plus as to why you should travel by rail. Can you share with our viewers and listeners what the accommodations on a train are like for sleeping?
Well, in this particular case, we will not be sleeping on the train. However, I have experienced sleeping on a train on a trip that we did several years ago in Australia. We took the famous train that's called the Ghan that goes from Adelaide, which is in the southern part of Australia, all the way up to the northern part. It goes up to Darwin, and it only makes a couple of stops in between. And the accommodations that we had on that train was a cabin that had 2 seats in it, and the 2 seats folded down, and another piece came out and created a lower bunk bed, and then there was an upper bunk bed. And with both beds, you could see out the window. So at night, I woke up at one point and we were in the middle of nowhere, and I was able to see the stars. It was so amazing.
Nice.
Our meals on that particular trip, we did not choose the dining room option. We had a lounge car to ourselves where we could have our meals. And we had brought some food along and we ate in there. Our train was delayed because there had been a hurricane or cyclone that had wiped out. A train had derailed on these tracks a week before. So we were the first train to go through, and we were delayed. So they were very accommodating, and they brought all kinds of food to those of us who had chosen that option. And they gave us a lot of history of the train. We were able to get off the train at one point when we were in the middle of the outback, which was very cool. And we made it to our destination in Alice Springs about 9 hours late. But we got all that extra time on the train, so it was a win-win.
That's fantastic.
In your suitcase, don't you, Dr. Jacalyn?
Yes, definitely. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about traveling to the UK, especially because I've made so many friends there. So I know typically pre-pandemic, people would love to travel from the States over to Europe. Do you envision there to be a big influx or outflux of that happening now that the UK is open and welcoming us?
I believe that there will be more people that will be traveling to the UK. Of course, with the Delta variant that we have going on, that could curtail it a little bit. But I do see that there'll be an influx of travel this summer. And the UK also has opened to the EU as well So that's really going to facilitate people in the EU going to the UK and vice versa.
That's great news.
It really is. It's exciting. I'd like to just drill down a little bit about London. So any recommendations you would have to our viewers and listeners? Like, what's a great package trip to go and see London? In other words, destinations, tours.
Absolutely. You can spend easily 2 to 3 weeks just in London. There's so much to do. But what I would recommend, if you go in the summertime, and I'm going to talk about next summer because I don't think that Buckingham Palace is opening this year, but traditionally Buckingham Palace is open in the August timeframe. If you can get a ticket for that, I highly recommend that. Seeing the changing of the guard, going to Horse Guards Parade. If you are a Harry Potter fan, you don't need to go down to Universal Studios in Florida. You can actually go to the studios where the Harry Potter films were made. And I had the opportunity to visit that a couple of years ago, and that was super amazing to be there. So you have that. There are shows, all kinds of shows, just like on Broadway. So you have that opportunity. Lots of opportunity to go for high tea. You could go to the Ritz. You can go to the Landmark. I'm a big tea person, so I love to visit different places for either just tea and scones or do the whole high tea experience. If you want to get a panoramic view of London, central London, then I would absolutely recommend the London Eye, which is a huge Ferris wheel right there in central London. And visiting the Houses of Parliament is also really neat. And all of that is really close to each other.
I have to say, and I'm sure Diann has because she's done everything, but I did get to go to Buckingham Palace, and I did get to watch Changing of the Guard, which was amazing. And I was there by myself, which was kind of cool. And I got to walk around and go to some cool restaurants and do some shopping. That was in 2018. So I highly recommend that. When you mentioned about the studios for Harry Potter, was that Pinewood Studios or somewhere else?
I don't think it was Pinewood Studios. But we had to, we took the train out and then we caught a bus. So that would be a day or a half a day trip, a little bit out of London. And that's the neat thing about London I wanted to mention. If there's some other places people are interested in visiting, there's all kinds of trains that can take you there. So if you're interested in a day trip to Cambridge, it's an 1.5-hour train ride out of central London to Cambridge. If you want to see more of Shakespeare than the Globe Theatre, which is along the Thames in London, then by all means, you can take a train out for the day to Stratford-upon-Avon. You can go to Hampton Court Palace, which is an amazing palace. And I neglected to mention one of my favorite places in London, which is the Tower of London.
I was going to say that.
So, and another neat place to go, which is further down, you can actually take a basically a water taxi down to Greenwich. And Greenwich was a palace at one time, and now it's most famous for Greenwich Mean Time, which is the time that the UK uses. And that is actually an international time scale. So there's a lot of history down there, and the village there in Greenwich is really interesting. There is an old ship that has been rebuilt that sits there, and there are lovely food and tea and shopping opportunities there in the village as well. So lots of things to do in and around London. And if anybody wants a tour guide, I'm happy to do it. I absolutely love it there, and I haven't been there for 2 years, and I can't wait to get back.
Sandy, that's fantastic. We might take you up on that next year.
Yeah.
What about any specific properties, hotels that you might recommend in the London area?
There are several places in central London, uh, and it's all about what you're looking for in terms of amenities at a hotel. So there are all price points to there in the central London area.
I stayed at the Dorchester,
Mm-hmm.
and then I stayed out in the country somewhere. I went to Buckingham Palace on the way back, but it was way out in the country with horses, and I can't remember the name of it. It was really beautiful. So yeah, so there's lots of choices people have, obviously.
Absolutely. Yep. There's the Plaza hotels that are scattered around. The Marriott is very nice. The County Hall Marriott is very nice, and that sits right at the Westminster Bridge. Then there's the Corinthia. Then there's the Savoy. So you have all kinds of options in central London. You can get out near Hyde Park and Kensington, and you have your option. That's why it was hard to mention a bunch of them, because you have your option if you want boutique types of hotels. There's those options. If you want some of the name brands like Hilton and Marriott, there are those options. So it really comes down to what you're looking for, and that's one of the things I like doing with my clients, is having those conversations to figure out what type of accommodations they're looking for wherever they go in the world, so that I can match them up with something that they'll truly enjoy.
Yeah, for example, some people have reward points. They love to use the reward points.
Mm-hmm. And those that are American Express card holders, Cruise Planners is an American Express travel representative, which means that we are able to provide many of the amenities that American Express provides to their Gold, Platinum, and Centurion clients. So we're able to pass along those types of things so people are able to earn points, use points. They can pay for their travel with points. And then for different tour companies, hotels, and cruise lines, there are additional amenities for those that use their American Express cards.
Congratulations on that, Sandy. That's great, being aligned with American Express.
Thank you.
That's big. So you stated something that's so important that I just love and really want the listeners to think about if they've never used a travel person, is how you cater to make sure that they get the best of the best with their money and sightseeing, and they're not wasting time hopping here and here. You can plan it and also make sure wherever they stay works well for their agenda. I just think that's so important, and I'm so happy you brought that out.
And another thing that I have been providing for my clients, particularly in this COVID time, is what all the latest protocols are. And sometimes they absolutely change just before people head out. And a prime example is I have a family of 11 that are heading to Orlando tomorrow. And Disney World just made a change to their face covering policy. And if you're planning those things on your own, and you're doing all kinds of things to get ready to go on your trip, sometimes those types of things can be overlooked. So that is the value that I bring to my clients, is to keep them up on all the latest, and I'm checking on their hotels, making sure everything is good to go for their trips.
That's wonderful. You mentioned, go ahead, Dr. Jacalyn.
No, I was going to say it's nice to have somebody watching over and letting you know what's going on. What is the latest and greatest now for traveling to Disney World in terms of face masks?
Starting today, no, I think it's tomorrow, but regardless, it is when people are indoors, they're required to wear masks, regardless of their vaccine status.
Interesting.
They had previously allowed people who were vaccinated to not wear masks, but they have made the decision that to be safe, they want indoors people wearing masks, except if they're obviously eating and drinking. So if you're sitting in a restaurant and you're eating and drinking, you can do that. But they have that requirement, and that's for not only the parks, but in their resorts, on their motor coaches, on the monorail, all their transportation.
Up to the minute updates with Sandy Adams. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
So we are actually at the end of our show. It goes by so fast. And Sandy, I'm just happy to know that you're going to come back and be a frequent regular guest because you have so much wonderful information.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity. I love being on the show with you guys. You are awesome.
Well, we love you too. And also, we know that there are a lot of times people can't watch live, right? Because they're working or doing whatever. And it's great to know that this information is out there for people to go and watch at their leisure.
Absolutely.
So when are you coming back? Do you remember when you?
I believe it's October 15th.
Okay, October 15th. And then between now and then, you will be on this amazing train. What's it called? Train?
Yes, it's the Rocky Mountaineer. So it's a rail journey. And so I will be on that. And so I look forward to sharing with everyone my experience on that. And then I'll be able to tell you about my next trip, which will be in November. So you'll have to tune in to hear about that one.
And Sandy, where are you on Facebook so that people can get the Facebook Live?
I am at Sandy. It's Cruise Planners, Sandy Adams and Allison Schloss, and also my personal Facebook page. So I post it in both places.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much for being here, Sandy. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you, and who should reach out to you?
Anyone who's interested in traveling, I am here to help you do that, be it individual, group, family. I can help with all of your travel arrangements. The best way to reach me is to either call me at 571-297-7676, or you can reach out via email at sandyadams@cruiseplanners.com, or you can send me a message in Messenger via Facebook through my Facebook page.
And I just want to clarify, the email address is sandy.adams. Is that correct?
That's correct, at cruiseplanners.com. And on my website, which is escapesandgetaways.com, there is a chat feature there as well. So I welcome everyone to check out the Facebook page. And then if you have questions or whatever, you can just hit the chat button and I will respond. And that's another great way to touch base with me.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Sandy Adams. You're a wealth of information. I love your passion and your energy and your expertise, and you are always welcome here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye. Diann, what's the best way for people to reach out to you, and who should contact you?
Anyone who loves books should contact me. My specialty, of course, is children's books, but I do have my new book coming out for young adults, so I'm excited about that. You can reach me at diannfloydboehm.com, but let me spell it. It's DiannFloydBoehm.com, and there you go. Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. It's been so much fun to be with you today. I just love it when we talk about travel.
Thank you. I do too. It's so exciting, and it's so nice to have somebody like Sandy who is so passionate and is so prepared. Always shows up for the interview with a wealth of information, not searching around. Oh, let me see about. She's got it all down. She knows it. So thank you, Sandy. Appreciate, and also the up to the moment tips about what's going on and what the new mandates are. So thank you again, Sandy Adams. Thank you, Diann, Floyd, Boehm. Thank you, viewers and listeners. We are excited that you're here today. Please go to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV, and subscribe. You can watch all of our shows there. We'll be back with A Better You, lessons from the best coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors. We have a first-time presenter today, Dylan Levitt. I'm very excited about that. And Mr. Hyatt Ives. So we'll look forward to seeing you then. Take care. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Diann. Thank you, Sandy.
All right. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.